I'm going to be talking about a lot of philosophical, esoteric concepts, so that's why you have to use your imagination. And I'm going to touch on a lot of different things, so it's like, I'm going to be jumping around because this is a huge, heavy topic, and I'm going to make it as introductory as possible. And so I'm going to touch on like symbology, etymology, maybe epistemology, which is the way we learn, and science, possibly architecture, all these things together because it's a holistic view. The whole thing basically is yoga or union, right? Yoga means union in Sanskrit. So I'm going to unify Western thought with Eastern thought in a way. So it's sort of like a Western version of yoga. And they're really talking about the same thing in different languages or different ways. So I'm just going to open up with a quote from Mark Twain. I'm going to read this here. You've all heard truth is stranger than fiction, right? Well, everybody stops there. The actual quote is from Mark Twain, truth is stranger than fiction, but it's because fiction is obliged to stick to possibilities, and truth isn't. So you have to marinate on that for a minute. All right, so starting off, you guys have probably heard of the whole idea at some point in your life of as above, so below, right? Okay, so never heard of that? Okay, it's
Say it again.
as above, so below. So this is one of the 7 Hermetic principles. I'm going to be talking a lot about Hermes and Hermetic principles because essentially that is yoga for the West. And it's a philosophical concept that basically took or takes the cosmos as above and shows you how it's incorporated in below, which is us, the human body. And so it covers everything, literally. It's like it covers the entire cosmos. But so anyway, you guys have probably seen this symbol of like, I know it's really small, but like what people would call the Star of David, right? And everybody associates that symbol with Hebrew, or Judaism. But it's much, much older. The oldest places that we find it are in India, Hinduism. It's all through Samaria. Sri Yantra. It's in Tibetan Buddhism. It's even in China, and it's in the West. It's most notably known in Egypt. So for us, it's really an Egyptian symbol, which is where pretty much all of our philosophy, Western philosophy, comes from. Is ancient Egypt.
Oh, there they are.
She likes the crystals. Don't worry, I will get to this whole body thing. But I have to give you guys sort of a background to think about this in these ways, because it's really right brain thinking, which is feminine. You guys have all sort of heard these polarities of like, well, as above, so below, as without, so within. It's the same thing. Male, female, yin yang, up down, hot cold, north south. These are all opposite ends of polarity. And so the first Hermetic principle is as above, so below. The second Hermetic principle is about polarity, which is basically how these things unite throughout the entire cosmos. Like how hot unites with cold, or male unites with female, or how we unite with God, if you want to call it that. So polarity and unity are united, basically. And one way to think about this is very abstract, but also very strange, is this is built in to nature. It's built into the universe. It's not a concept that man projects onto nature and goes, this is the way we think it is. And the more you study nature, the more you realize that there's certain cosmic principles that are just there before us. And one of the weird ways to try to visualize this is like, if we all were at the bottom of the Earth, actually, floating in space, looking up at our planet, we know it rotates this way. If you're looking at the equator, it rotates like this. But if you're below it and you look up, it's also going to rotate like that. But if we all of a sudden float around to the northern pole stars, and we were to look at the same planet, which we know is rotating like this, it's now going to appear to rotate like this. So what's really happening there is, did the planet stop? Did it really change? no, our perspective changed, our viewpoint, our paradigm, our connection to it changed. And so this duality is throughout all the manifested world. We see it primarily in our relationships, male, female, and this is where sex or union comes into play. And this is where the physiology of the body comes into play. So there's 7 hermetic principles, but I'm just going to start with those 2 and leave those. Moving on to yoga and the way that all these things from above coalesce into the body, and we are united to them, is with the breath, obviously. Everything you guys have been through in the last nine months about yoga, as Aubrey's so often telling us in class, make sure you're in tune with your breath right now. Like, even though it's incredibly hard to do this pose, and if you don't remind yourself of that, you're going to tense up, and your unity is going to sort of fragment a bit. And the whole process of union is the breath. So we literally take the cosmos and bring it into our bodies and exchange with that energy and then expel it constantly. So we're literally taking in as above, or as without, so within, or as above, so below. We're literally breathing in the cosmos. And so the human body is really the temple that all this happens in. Every one of us perceives reality uniquely from one vantage, and that's like behind our own eyes. So every creature we run across, every being we run across is doing this. So even though we're experiencing the same reality, it's unique to each one of us, always, based on our viewpoint. It's like a star. Other stars are aware of other stars, and they probably have relationships with them. Binary and trinary movements, gravitational, electric-magnetic relationships. But each one of those stars is not in competition or sort of fighting for position. They have a harmonic. They all do what they're supposed to do as best that they can to keep this thing balanced. And that's what the breath does for us. That's what the body actually does for us when we breathe. And so the practice of yoga, or union, really is this unification with the cosmos, or with higher mind, higher consciousness, the universe itself, cosmic energy, Christ consciousness, all that we're with throughout our entire lives every day. And so the Kundalini is an interesting thing. The Kundalini is always represented as an electromagnetic spiraling force that runs up and down our spine, right? And for most people, yoga, this is all philosophy, but what I'm really pointing at is that this is not really philosophy. This is actually physiologically truly happening to the temple of God, which is our body. So we all know we produce electromagnetic energy, and this idea that it goes up and down our chakras, or up and down our spine, is actually truly happening. And if you take the energy side out of it and just apply it to the physical body, you'll see that we have 2 nerves that run from our brain, which is the Ida and the Pingala, and one's male and one's female. One's masculine, one's magnetic, one's electric. So male energy is electric, and female energy is magnetic. And you'll never find an electric current anywhere in the universe without a magnetic field around it. It's just, that's the way the universe is built. So this is one of these things that, again, man is not projecting these things into the universe and going, this must be the way it is. We actually find it everywhere. Toroidal fields and electromagnetic currents are hand in hand. They're basically poles of the same thing, just like hot and cold, north and south. They're united. So this Kundalini idea is found throughout all these different cultures, and I'll just go through, like, symbolically, in Hinduism you have Shiva, and she's always often pictured with a Kundalini serpent, and it's always associated with a serpent. So all over Egypt you'll notice that the symbology that comes out of the headdress of a pharaoh, it doesn't really matter who they are. They either have a cobra right at the pineal gland of the third eye, or a cobra and a bird, usually some sort of a vulture. And the whole point that they're representing there is this Kundalini, although they're not calling it yoga. They have a different cultural language for the same thing. And what they're pointing to is that when you reach enlightenment, or when you balance this harmonic with you and the cosmos, you have higher consciousness. You actually are able to perceive the universe as it is, or closer to as it is. Reality is actually the truth. So instead of projecting things onto the universe that are false and living like that and falling out of balance or out of harmony with the cosmos, these symbols of the Kundalini are the essential across the whole world, basically. All these cultures have these same symbols. For example, Christ, or Christ consciousness, is also this awakening. All holy people have a halo around them, or are depicted that way. Why is that? Why do they have a halo around them? Why is the serpent everywhere? Moses, in the story, says that he raised the brazen serpent up over his head in the wilderness. Okay? So, does this mean like you're walking through the forest and you see a snake and you're like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to show it who's boss, and I'm going to raise it up here. No, it's symbolic. I mean, what does it mean? What do these mythologies and these stories really mean? What is the symbol? He's literally telling you, I'm raising my Kundalini serpent up all my chakras, up all my spine, into the higher mind, so that I can have a relationship with God that's real, true. He's enlightened, so to speak, right? Hern, which is an ancient god of the Druidic, the Druids and the Norse, is depicted the same way. He has antlers. This is where all of our antler gods come from, like Viking horns and Pan with antlers. Same thing. You look at old pictures of him, and he's sitting actually in a yoga position, holding a ring, a round ring, which is basically infinity, the cosmos in one hand, and a serpent in the other, saying, I united these things within my being. Hermes, which is actually Hern. Hermes is a Greek version of Thoth in Egypt, and a Greek version of Mercury for the Romans, and a Greek version of Hern, who's much older, in the Norse mythology. And I'll segue real quick here. In Norse mythology, their biggest text is called the Eddas, which is E-D-A-S. That's actually the same mythology and the same story as the Vedas, written in a different language. And if you read them side by side, they're not identical. They don't have exactly all the same names in there, but you'll start to see that a lot of the etymology does transfer in their characters and their names. And the most obvious is the Rig Veda literally means like, Rig is the same etymological root word for Ra in Egypt. So Ra, Re, Ro, Roy, Ru, they all mean like kingly, godly, power, higher mind, which is why we say, oh, that person's very regal. Regal. It's very powerful. It's very kingly. When you go sign a registry, you're signing the regis, which is registered to the king. That's what these words mean. And so when you were to go before a pharaoh, fa is the same etymological root word that we use for pa, like papa or dada, which is father, or the pope, which is the papacy, is father. Ra. So Pharaoh literally means God the Father. And who is God? The sun. Ra, right? All these different aspects of the sun throughout either the daily cycle, the yearly cycle, or the most important, where all this actually is still symbolically encapsulated is the precessional cycle, which is, if you guys don't know what the precessional cycle is, you should, because it's all throughout the Vedic scriptures. It's all throughout the Edda of the Norse gods. There's three main cycles that happen with the sun. The daily cycle, which we know is 24 hours. The yearly cycle is just a larger version of that, which is 365.25 days, roughly. And that's a solar year. But the sun itself is actually going through a precessional cycle, which is what Plato called the Great Year. And this is where the yugas come from. The Kali Yuga, the Satya Yuga,
can touch on that. I haven't touched on the
Was it
yugas.
Dwapara,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know them all. I don't know the names of them
Kali
all.
Yuga right now.
Yeah. So these are the exact same, this is the exact same clock or calendar or cycle as the Bronze Age, Silver Age, Iron Age in Greece. So really this whole thing, like I'm basically showing you how all these religions, philosophies, theologies, and sciences are actually the same, and they actually come from some original source. And there's debate on what the original source is, but it's still intact. And then in sort of biblical terms, when you probably heard the story of the Tower of Babel, where they built a tower which was supposed to reach God, and what happened was these 12 tribes, they ended up going their separate ways and speaking different languages, and then not being able to communicate over time. Well, before this happened, they were all said to speak one language. And what that language is, truly is, the language of the cosmos, the language of the stars, the language of the sun. We build all of our mythology, including the Vedas, based on these natural harmonic cycles. And when we write them down, they get lost in translation, or they get systematically perverted, or they get used to be literal and control people, or these sort of things. So the whole idea of unification is being able to remember and see all of that. So Hermes is Mercury. If you go and you study Mercury, like the symbol of Mercury is so widespread, you see it everywhere. Does anybody know what it is? Like, do you know what the caduceus is? Have you ever heard of that symbol?
Symbol of Mercury?
Yeah. So Mercury is always depicted, and now that I'll tell you this, you'll see it everywhere. It's a staff with two serpents winding up it, and then at the top of the staff is sometimes a little glowing light, like a sun or something, but there's always wings. The wings of Mercury.
Medical association.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's called caduceus.
Well, in Greek it's called the caduceus,
Yeah.
which is actually the symbol for Hermes or Mercury. They're the same.
Oh, I didn't realize.
So in Rome, they call Hermes Mercury. In Greek, they call Hermes Hermes, and in Egypt they call him Thoth. And then in say the Norse, they call him Hern. So the point is this symbol is the same symbol. It's this serpent. It's these serpents all over the world. What's the deal with the serpents? The symbol for health in medicine in our Western culture is telling you the spine is where our entire reality and being and our life is based. It's the whole thing, the brain. It's the whole system, the brain, the heart, lungs, the spine, all the way down to all your organs. But the spine is where all this energy travels. And so those two serpents being balanced, male, female, magnetic, electric, unified with the harmonics of the world makes you a healthy person. And so at the top of this is always these wings that fly out. And these are symbols of higher mind, higher consciousness, enlightenment. So the point is that yoga is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, written documents of this exact process. Sanskrit, I think, is 6,000 years old.
At least that.
Yeah, and it's funny, like their etymology actually translates throughout a lot of languages as well, like moving westward, and you can start to see the root words of some of these things. I'll probably touch on a couple of those. But real quick, another biblical quote is like, Jesus says this somewhere, "Be as calm as doves and as wise as serpents." What does that mean? Why? Why do we need to be as calm as doves but as wise as serpents? It's because the serpent is this ancient, old symbol for health and wisdom. So if you're healthy, you're going to be wise simply because your whole body and physiology is functioning in a harmonic with nature. So you're going to be just naturally wise because you're paying attention to your reality, and it's reflecting back to you health. So when he says be as wise as serpents, it's not because in the sort of Western tradition we've been told that serpents are evil or bad or tempted Eve. This is all a perversion of the original language that we all spoke in the cosmos, that we could all read in the stars. And the serpent was never an evil thing. It was always wise and healthy. because it represented these energies. And my point is that we've known about these energies for a really, really, really long time. We've actually known about the physiology. Like our modern medicine is actually way behind what we used to be, say 5,000 years ago in Egypt. And a lot of people will disagree with that, but the more you look into the symbology and get symbolically literate, you can start to see it's a huge topic, but you can start to see this. This whole idea about the two trees in the Garden of Eden. One is the tree of knowledge, of good and evil, and the other was the tree of life. And what's in between them is the serpent. So to speak, tempting Eve, right? Well, what's really happening is this is just a symbolic story that's been twisted. So the two trees are literally your Ida and your Pingala, your nervous system, the male, female that run up and down your spine. And when they're in harmony, you're in paradise, quote unquote, the Garden of Eden. Well, what does paradise mean? Para, in Latin, or where we get our language from, means close to. Like in Spanish, like para, And dice, or dios, is the same word that we get for God, like adios, or like the Catholic, you've heard of Opus Dei?
Yeah.
Well, Opus Dei, Opus is a...
D-I-A.
Yeah, it's that root word is the same. It's D-I-E, right?
D-E-I. Opus Dei. D-E-I.
Yeah, it's D-E-I. But the root word of that is where we get deity from, which is where we get Dios in Spanish or Latin, which is where we get God, which is where we get the sun. So literally, the word paradise or Eden, Garden of Eden, is close to God. And what's happening there is when you're close to God, you're healthy and wise because you've balanced these yogic serpents, these symbols that are male, female, and electromagnetic throughout the entire cosmos. All planetary bodies move like this. Everything has an electromagnetic field. So I'm just kind of pointing out that serpent energy. And it's not ironic that we get the word in our English language, day, from day, dia, opus dei. We spell it differently, but etymologically, words shift and change. Like the name Sarah is S-A-R-A, it's S-A-R-A-H. It can also be in Italian C-H-A-R, like Charia is like Sarah. So etymologically, you have to understand that some of these things change a little bit, but the meaning is still there. So the word for day is literally the cycle of the sun in 24 hours. It's like one day. We're literally talking about God the Son, which powers. It's not just as above up there, but it's as below. It powers the entire human body. Without the sun, none of our endocrine system works. None of the food we eat grows. We can't metabolize it. Obviously we freeze to death without the sun. But the planet itself is powered by a relationship, a harmonic with the electromagnetic connection to the sun. So this is why all these ancient gods are really personifications of some sort of cosmic principle. There might be a star, there might be a sun, there might be a moon. Venus is always a female. She's associated with the moon. So it's important to realize that day, deity, Dios are really all talking about this, again, this harmonic, this natural thing that nature has created that makes us conscious and aware life, living beings. And so it also says many, many times in a lot of scriptures that the body is the temple of God, or you are the temple of God. And what this is really, again, pointing to is the cerebrospinal system. And this is what we were talking about last night. Etymologically, in your brain, you have the cerebellum, which is the lower brain, and you have the cerebrum, which is on top. And when we discovered this in the Western world and we cut open cadavers, like somebody decided to name them. They could have named them anything in the world, right? But they actually named them they were already named. In Greek and in Hebrew and in Egyptian and in Sanskrit, they were already named because we're like sort of catching up to what's been out for a long time, thousands of years. And they named the cerebellum which is Cere, but it's really referring to, in Hinduism or Sanskrit, Saraswati. So this is the female goddess. And her father was Brahma, which is, you might be able to explain what Brahma actually means better than I can. I mean, to me it's like a universal cosmic.
Brahma is indicative of all that is manifest in the universe. So when you say things like Param Brahma, it's beyond manifestation. So like when you do the Guru Mantra, you chant to Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu, and then you always say Param Brahma, so beyond all that has been manifest. And so Brahma is the root of all of the other gods because they're all that has been manifest. And Brahma is like responsible for all of creation.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. So Sarah is the daughter, or Saraswati is the daughter of Brahma, who's responsible for all of creation. Here we are again, this huge godlike principle, right? So when we name the Sarah, the cerebrum, for example, the higher brain, it's Sarah and Brahma, cerebrum, Sarah upper. And then as it moved west, it went to like Mesopotamia, it's Sarah and Abraham. Abraham is the father of like most, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. So this is Sarah and Abraham. And this is also where we get like the cerebellum is also, it's still Sarah or Saraswati, but Bel is the ancient word for the sun, like Baalbek in Lebanon. It's a temple to the sun. Baal, Bel, all refers to the sun, which is why in Italian they go, oh, you're so bello, It means you're bright, beautiful like the sun. So again, these are always going back to these real, true, natural cosmic principles. So what happens though physiologically, this is what we were talking about last night, is that inside your body you have these electromagnetic polarities. And you can see the human body is everything we pretty much see is in a dualistic way. Like we're split down the middle. 2 halves, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 lungs. We have 1 heart, thank God. 1 single eye, but 2 eyes, 2 ears.
The heart has 2 halves though.
2 halves, that's right. Perfect example. And so this duality exists, but the whole point in yoga, back to yoga, is being able to unify them constantly, every moment of your life, to raise this kundalini, to raise the brazen serpent over your head, to become wise and healthy or enlightened. And what happens is that in your brain, there's this the whole thing in the center of your brain, which is the most protected part of your body. It's called the colostrum. Somebody named it that, right? In Greek, this is where we get the word Santa Claus, Holy Claus, like Saint Claus. The colostrum, or holy colostrum, is this place in the human body that the ancient Egyptians and the Hindus knew consciousness somehow is. It's not that they're not saying that it's created there, but there's a center that it's processed there in the human body. And so what happens is you have 2 really powerful secretions that run down your endocrine system, and run down your vagus nerve, which is your pneumogastric nerve, which feeds all of your organs, and runs down your pingala and your ida, the male female. And one is charged positively, which is the male version, which is from the pineal gland, and one is charged negatively, which is from the pituitary body. And what happens is when they get dripped into your system, they're differentiated, they're not together. They come, one's like totally negative, one's positive. And this is that whole balancing thing that happens in your body constantly. And they go down your cerebrospinal center, which etymologically cerebrospinal is Seri, which is Sarah again. Bra is again referring to Ra or Brahman, this cosmic principle of the sun. And spin, it's literally spinning, spinal, spirit, spiral, spinal, is all refer to the movement of spiral. So it's literally this male-female energy coming down your body, and it goes down through all of your organs and into your sex organs, your lowest part, and then goes back up. And it's pumped back up through, in your spinal column is your sacrum, which is 5 bones that are fused together. And it actually works in tandem with your breath. Every time you breathe with your sphenoid, which is a bone up underneath your skull, and they rock back and forth every time you breathe, real gently. And this real mild pressure is just like your heart and blood pressure. It's your cerebrospinal pressure. And without that, you die. It has to constantly cycle. And so literally, they're telling you that Sarah and Abraham are the life force, the kundalini, the serpent that runs up and down your spine. And how it relates to solar bodies is where people they think it's pretty far out, but since the sun powers us and powers our planet, it actually regulates all of our physiology. This is why we need vitamin D when we're sick. This is how the pineal gland opens up. This is why solar gazing actually affects your pineal gland. And the pineal gland is like a little pine cone. It looks like a little pine cone in the middle of your brain. It controls your entire endocrine system. But without proper...
It's right here.
Well,
it's like behind here, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sits inside the colostrum, this whole... And inside the colostrum is this thing called the optic thalamus. And I'm kind of losing you guys. But the point is, we named that the optic thalamus. Well, what does optic thalamus mean? Optic means light, or visual light. Thalamus means chamber. So the ancients named this little thing the chamber of light. They're telling you that you have to get. So what happens in a solar year is you have 12 months in a solar year, and you have 12 opportunities to take a psychophysical journey. And I know people trip out on that. And they go, oh, that can't be possible, right? But the moon regulates your menstrual cycle, right? We all know this. Everybody across the world knows this. Mm-hmm. Well, the word moon refers to the moon, but this is also where we get the word month. So this is one solar month. So the moon and the sun have this male-female harmonic relationship. The light that bounces off the moon, which changes 14 days up, 14 days down. That's why we have spring tides and neap tides in the ocean. The moon is very powerful. It's, as we both know from last night, make you sick or make you feel crazy. That's what we call a lunatic, because the moon is actually affecting your lunacy, lunar. So it's definitely affecting our physiology. And this is not really just the moon, it's actually the sun. Reflecting light, or the moon reflecting light from the sun, right? Well, men have the same thing. It's not a menstrual cycle, but it's the same cycle. And the reason why we have this is because of the sun. So the moon does a 28-day, roughly a 28-day rotation around the Earth. But not out of coincidence, the sun does a 28-day rotation on its own axis. So the moon and the sun have decided to keep this harmonic as a standard. And this is how our physiology throughout our entire life is powered by solar light. And so every month you guys get an egg, right? And men get a similar thing, but in spiritual terms or in yogic terms, it's this kundalini power. And you get a psychophysical germ that naturally goes through your spinal fluid. It's an oil, which is what in Greek, if you go to Greece right now and you go, hey, I want some oil for my salad, they'll be like, oh, you want me to bring you the Christos. It's called Christos. This is Christ consciousness, crystalline consciousness, crystallization. In Egypt, it's called crust. And so they know that actually the temple of God really is your body. And you are really bringing in these cosmic principles. And you are embodying them. And if you are aware of them, you can change your life. And that's what you guys have been doing. Taking yoga with Aubrey is like, you're learning these principles that are totally regulated by your breath and your body. And they affect your consciousness, and they affect reality. So, long story short, you have this little thing in your chest right here called your solar plexus, right? Well, if you cut open a human body, go, where's the solar plexus? Doctor's going to be like, well, I don't know. I mean, where is it? Like, right? But every doctor throughout the world, no matter what language you tell them, you go, oh, I got this pain right here. They're like, oh, that's your solar plexus. Why is it called your solar plexus? Because the ancients knew that right here in your physiology, there's a little tiny energy center, which we would call a chakra in Hinduism. And it actually, that oil that drips down into your body, once it becomes united, it was first differentiated, but once it becomes united into the male-female come together and they make a new chemistry, it's called a chemical wedding. It sits and pools in your this little tiny cave in your chest. And it sits behind the gland and it just pulls this little tiny bit of oil. And it needs an electric pulse to get all the way back up to the optic thalamus. And this is why yogis are enlightened. It's because they literally save their energy so much. They may not even know about these harmonics, but they practice it so much that 1/10 of this energy, which is fully charged with cosmic power, goes up across back where the vagus nerve meets, which is what in Christianity they would say the crucifixion that happens there when it crosses this. It goes up into your holy colostrum and then into your optic thalamus, the chamber of light, and it goes right back to where it started, which was the pineal gland. And the pineal gland sits in a fluid, a floating sac. It doesn't touch anything. So it transmits all of its information via electromagnetics through fluid. So when this oil infuses with that fluid, your blood chemistry actually changes. And this is what in Christianity they call the blood of Christ, or the new blood. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Christ talks about the new blood. He's talking about healthy blood because it changes your reality, it changes your consciousness throughout your life. And when you infuse this new chemistry, which is electromagnetic, it literally makes you healthier. And it's all driven by the breath and by yoga. And we know all of the benefits of yoga, like from the way that it affects your organs, when you do certain postures, the way it affects all your endocrine system, your pineal gland. I mean, she knows way more about that than I do. But it's just important to realize that like, it's all of it is actually your body. The human body is truly the temple of God, and it's amazing. And even the word in Latin, like if you go to Italy, which is Italian but Latin based, and they say salute, to your health. Well, the root of that is salt. And what's your blood made out of? It's made out of 12 essential cell salts. And with those 12 salts get out of balance, you become sick. And if they get real far out of balance, you can die. And so your blood is like the ocean, which is actually 12 salts as well. Your blood is literally this perfect chemistry of conscious health, and it's floating throughout your whole body. And when you practice yoga on a regular basis, throughout your life, throughout your years, you have the opportunity to put more and more of this chemistry into your optic thalamus and truly enlighten yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you. Yoga is this unification between you, the self, and the cosmos, or God, whatever you want to call it.
Well, taking it, can I add something?
Yeah.
So like when you start talking about, mastery of yoga, the Western world is very concerned with the shape in which your body takes, but it's so not true. The point is to engage this matrix of the body through the specific breathing, but it says that you have to do it every single day for 12 years, because that is a complete cycle of the stars. And that means that your ophthalmos, or however you want to think about it, is then exposed in this very specific way to that energetic combination. So if you miss one day, you have to start all over again, because you will not have experienced the full energetic, how would you say, like the full energetic
Order, I guess.
Order, or the mixture.
Is that what we were getting into last night with the pregnancy thing?
I don't know.
The 12 months.
Well, I can touch
Oh,
on
yeah.
that.
So, yes. So I just want to wait one more thing. So then you have the go ahead, I forgot.
No, that's really true and important.
Yeah.
You kind of have to tap into why 12. Like, why is there 12 months in a year? It's because you divide a circle, which is the path of the sun, evenly in the degrees of 30, and you get 12. And the reason why that was done, the Mayans did it differently. They based it on the lunar calendar, but and it's actually much more accurate than ours. They have way less slippage. But the reason why this is done is because the human body has 12 cell salts. It's a magic number. It's got 12 cranial nerves. Why 12? Like nature. 12 ribs, yep, on each side, right? And so you also have 12 systems of the body. There's debate about this, but like your whole endocrine, respiratory, cardiovascular, skeletal, there's 12 of them. And so again, this is something that nature designed. Nature chose 12 cranial nerves. Why? It's because of this natural, true cosmic harmonic that is we experience by being an Earth being living on this planet. If we lived on another planet, another system, we would have a different physiology, you know. The same principles would be there, electromagnetic, male, female, positive, negative. All that would be there, but we would be different. And so this harmonic is I want to get into this real quick because I don't know how long I have here, but the idea of a chakra, right?